guys, I'm Janet, on occasion, and the griffin's looking at me again. I always find that so creepy. Especially when you just unpause it, he just angles towards you. Anyway, hi Deathclaw. So yeah, this is Battle 5 against Shadow. So I've already kind of won the tournament really, you know, it's 3-1 at the moment. And, but you know, that's fine, we're just going to keep playing, because it's good fun. So, yeah, so another battle. We're actually playing a mirror match at the moment. It's Empire versus Empire. So, both very law-friendly armies, really. So, you know, I've made sure to have a very sort of state troop kind of army. So, frontliner halberdiers. I've got some spearmen as their detachments, along with some handgunners. I've brought a Jade Wizard with me, always good to bring a wizard, and I've got Emperor Karl Franz. Now you might think, this isn't a very grand army for Karl Franz, where's the really awesome thing you've brought? You know, he's the Emperor, for God's sake, he can afford more than just some halberdiers. Well he can, he's got a steam tank, so that's good fun. So, gotta love a stank. So, also, you might notice these guys over here, I didn't, so I'll get to them later. So, here, great themed army, so I kind of went with Altdorf, whereas Shadow went with a Nuln army. So he's got a artillery army, which is really cool. So he's got a front line of swordsmen, and some spearmen on the sides to watch for cavalry. He's got some handgunners, he's got the silver bullets, and he's got a bright wizard as well, which is very cool. And they're led by Balthazar Gelt, which isn't necessarily sort of Nuln, but, you know, a wizard in charge. Kind of makes sense, because I don't think the Countess tends to march into battle much. So, yeah, why not? Also, he's got some great swords. You know, always good to have a unit of great swords. Your sort of, you know, elite component in the army. And also a lot of cannons. So he's got a great cannon there, a mortar, and another great cannon. So a lot of artillery. So very cool. And obviously, you know, the engineers had a big part in this army. You know, with all the handgunners and the artillery, which is pretty cool. One thing though, I'm not sure I'd double up on wizards because you know, although Gelt isn't the best wizard, you know, you want all the winds of magic to utilise him. You don't have to split the winds of magic between two wizards because you run through them very quickly. And I mean, you don't get the most, you know, they can't be as potent as they could be if they were the only wizard. So yeah, maybe like a wizard and I don't know, a warrior priest or something would be cool. Empire captain maybe. But yeah, a different hero I think would be pretty cool. I mean, some people might say just don't bring Gelt because he's rubbish. But you know, this is a cool thematic thing. You know, it's a nice theme, and I think having Gelt along, you know, lore of metal, you know. Metal, right? You know, siege equipment, all the handguns, right? You know, engineering. So that really fits. So I really rate that. But two wizards might be a bit much. But anyway, so as I was marching up here, so I'm going to speed things up now, actually. So as I was marching up, I thought that was his whole army, and I was sat here with the camera, as you can see here. You know, moving up my guys, all the rest of it, and I actually said to Shadow, like, after a little while of this happening, I went, God, your mortars are doing really well. And he said, my mortars aren't in range. And I actually went over here, right? Sort of hovered over, you know, had a look at the arc, and I could see, you know, when I hovered over him, that it stopped over here somewhere. And I was wondering what the hell was hitting me, and I turned around, and he had these guys behind me. These outriders with grenade launchers had completely decimated that unit. But, of course, these are quite vulnerable to range fire. So I turned round and shot him. Yeah, that was quick, right? Yeah, you don't want them getting shot at. You really don't. Yeah, so there they go. I think they're going to shatter as well. Yeah, there we go. They both shattered. So don't have to worry about them anymore. I carried on moving up my force because yeah, I wanted to get in because I was getting, you know, in danger of being in range of his artillery and, you know, not having them marching. So these guys will catch up though, it's fine. And I've already taken out quite a lot of expense there. That was a real shame. I said to him later in the battle, actually, he should have kept them sort of well back, you know, away from my handgunners, waited for me to engage, and then he could just put grenades into all of my, you know, the back of my lines, you know, as I was engaged, because that would have just, yeah, that would have been awful for these guys. They would not have stood up well to it at all. You can see, you know, a lot of mortar fire hitting these halberdiers, doing really significant damage. I used a regrowth on them, try and keep the model count high, because I need them for the front line. Also, over here, you can see, I'm getting the odd cannonball into his greatswords. Obviously, anything I hit is going to die, because it's a cannonball. And it doesn't matter how much armor you've got, a cannonball is going to go through you. So here, you know, big expense. big expense, this, and I'm not blobbed up enough for this to be worthwhile, I don't think. It was pretty cool, though, with being shot at and everything. It was definitely a fun, sort of cinematic experience, you know, having this massive totem of fire come at me. You know, the, well, pillar of flame, I suppose. So, you know, that was very cool. So here, you know, I rushed in my guys, and, yeah, basically got fully engaged in the front here. So, I had Franz down one side because I didn't want his handgunners to be pointing at me. Because, yeah, that would hurt. That would really hurt. And, of course, I charge in my my steam tank that causes terror, as does my general. So that's nice. I'll get a lot of terror around here. So, a lot of these fights are going to be fairly even. And, you know, still taking mortar fire. And here comes him with a bombardment, but he misses. I don't know what that was. If that was a misclick or I'd pushed his men back, or if he was going for the steam tank, but I wasn't going to stand still there. So, but yeah, that's a massive shame, because again, very expensive spell that. So here, I dived in, and I was waiting to see what Balthazar did. And so he's landed now. He's got my his bright wizard on Franz there for a little bit, but now I decide to try and take out Balthazar, because Franz is going to completely ruin him in melee. Although, really, law of metal, he should be able to just completely melt Karl Franz, because he's covered in armour. So he should be able to just cook him alive in his armour. But, yeah, so I've lost a unit there. Unit Halberdiers has run. And my steam tank taking a lot of damage from the greatswords with their armour piercing. But, you know, it's great, because it's unbreakable, and he can pin these guys down for ages. And I'm happy for him to do that while my front line succeeds. And there, boom, Balthazar is dead. Poor guy. Poor Bal. What would you call him? What's a nickname for Balthazar? Bally? Hey, Bally. I don't know. So anyway, so now, you know, I'm trying to terrify as much as I can. So you can see, you know, they're terrified. Being chased. Oh, they're routing now. Being chased by the steam tank. And now I'm getting all up in their artillery. And wow, that hit the camera. Which is pretty cool. And he's still going for these halberdiers. And that's not a good target anymore. If he changed them onto the handgunners or something, that would have been great. But yeah, at this point, without Balthazar, you know, old Ballykins, fighting, yeah, the rest have given it up. You know, they're gone. It's a real shame. I love the artillery army though, but it is so difficult to utilise it properly. I don't know what else he could have done, to be honest, because it's just so expensive. And yeah, just the gap gets closed too quickly in this game. So yeah, I don't think artillery tends to do particularly well, especially if you bring that much of it, because the more you bring, the harder it is to defend any of it. Which is really tough, which is a shame, because these like Nuln-based armies, having like an artillery army, you know, it should be really impressive. You know, it should be taking out a load of units before they get to you. You know, it should be terrifying. But unfortunately, it just really isn't. I mean, the great cannons, I did tell Shadow, I think if you'd use the great cannons to try and snipe out Karl, I think he could have done really well. He did a lot of damage to the steam tank as it approached, but if he'd gone for my general, it would have stopped me, you know, having the free reign to take out Balthazar, and he could have kept his leadership up higher. And because the front line, my halberdiers weren't going to perform particularly well against, you know, the swordsmen and stuff. He could have done some serious damage, especially if he'd come up behind me with the outriders. He could have done serious damage. And to be honest, he could have probably, you know, fired a shot with these guys into my handgunners, and then charged into the back of the handgunners. And he could have routed them off pretty quickly, especially if he'd given them, you know, a bit of taste of mortar. Yeah, and then he would have had free reign to blast into the rear of my troops with the grenade launchers, which is really, you know, that would have been pretty damn good. But yeah, it didn't quite go to plan. But yeah, always very tough having this much artillery in any matchup, to be honest. The only time I'd probably bring this much is if I was going against the dwarves, because they're just so slow. So that's always nice. But yeah, so that was our final game. That was my final game against Shadow. We did say at some point we're gonna have to play some more. So you might see another one of these little mini series coming up in the next few months, because it was really fun. It was really fun, and I love these themed armies. You know, I mean, you can see I got a taste for it. I brought my state troop army, you know. And yeah, it gave me a real taste for sort of themed armies. I think that's really good. So if it gave you a taste for themed armies, definitely go and check out JanetOnOccasion's channel, because all of his battles are like that. You know, sometimes he has great success with them as well. And but yeah, not necessarily the most competitive, but they're definitely interesting, and they're definitely worth watching. It is really fun. So yeah, definitely go check him out. And yeah, and see his great custom music as well. Well, see it, I guess listen to it, you know. But yeah, definitely go check out his channel, and tell him I sent you. And guys, if you enjoyed this, please do comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day, guys.